We're going to have a special guest joining right now, chat. Hello.
Long time no talk. How you been?
We have the boy himself, Alex Simo. Simo!
Everyone loves shouting it.
I have to. So you got brought up in my chat because someone was saying that, did you see Simo is trending right now on Twitter about Genesis and Ultimate Time Wizard?
I wouldn't say trending, but okay.
In,
Sure.
in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, trending, right? Like not, you know, it's trending. It's trending. As soon as I typed in Simo, the first thing that came up was Simo Genesis, Simo Ultimate Time Wizard. I was like, oh, okay, so something's going on.
Here we go.
But I saw your tweets. I'm actually gonna pull them back up now because obviously I agree.
You must be so enthralled with your online local that we're talking about.
Your tweets, right? I mean, I do genuinely love anyone who just tells the truth about the whole situation. I think it's just a really shitty situation that Konami completely gave up.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. Like that's the thing. Like that's like we'll get into it.
Yeah. So I just read all of these. I'm just going to state like the main bullet points again for people who are coming into the chat now or coming into the stream now. But basically, it seems like Konami put the absolute bare minimum amount of effort into running Ultimate Time Wizard events. We still showed up and they were like, well, we can find a way to profit billions of dollars from this, so nuke the whole thing. Which, you know, obviously that does, like, when you have something going as well as it was going, we had almost 500 players for nationals in 2024. Yeah. That is crazy.
Oh, you're starting midway through the thread. There's 4 tweets before this.
Oh, hold on. Let me zoom up.
Because Twitter is the greatest platform ever, and somehow split my thread up when I posted that on airline Wi-Fi, so that's probably why that happened.
The good old airline Wi-Fi. Now I'm having a hard time even finding the beginning of this. Like it's.
I'll link you. Hold on. I'll link you.
I'm having a hard time. I'm like, what is going on? Also have to be very careful because my Twitter is not safe.
I would want to know what your Twitter is.
And when I tell you my Twitter is not safe at all, it says it's awesome that Genesis is getting this much love and attention, but I can't help but be a bit salty that Ultimate Time Wizard didn't get nearly the same treatment when there's a massive community of players who crave retro Edison tournaments. And that is because Konami posted, I guess this is an official like Genesis YCS now.
Yeah.
And I think it says something about moving forward, all YCSs in North America, starting in May, will follow a big top philosophy and have both events under one roof. And whether you play Advanced or Genesis, our motto is a YCS is a YCS. So both events will have the same pricing, including the special prize cards currently under the Stratios. Starting with YCS Columbus, October for Latin America, Genesis events will switch from invitational to standard YCS pricing. So officially Genesis is
read the first paragraph. That's more important to my point here.
Okay, let's see what this says. We've been talking to a lot of duelists the last few months, and one thing that keeps coming up is that some folks are nervous about when a YCS does come to town. Will it be the type of event that they prefer? Some people are excited about Genesis and tell us, when a YCS comes to my area, I hope it's a Genesis YCS because I'd rather play in that. But others say, when a YCS comes to my area, I hope it's still advanced format because I'd rather play in that. So, as a wise person once said, why don't we do both? That is a slap in the face. I think that whoever wrote this they're being petty. I genuinely think that they're being petty, whoever wrote that.
Sure. Like, and that's the point, right? Because we and then you can see the other tweets if you click the replies because it's the thread. But Ultimate Time Wizards, as you recall, were barely advertised. The amount of times where someone was like, oh, I didn't even know there was an Ultimate Time Wizard happening at this YCS. Right. I would have gone. I heard that countless times because they would either never even say that there was an Ultimate Time Wizard happening, or if they did, it was like 3 days before the event. So unless you lived near the area,
right, you
weren't going to be able to attend on like a last minute notice, right?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we didn't really get advertisements. I remember, okay, YCS Indy, the first one in 2023. This is the second ever Ultimate Time Wizard. They didn't announce it until like a week and a half before it actually happened. And I was really pissed off because I was like, yo, the flights are $400 or $500 for me to go from Philly to Indianapolis. Like, I'm not paying $500 because Konami decided to announce the event a week and a half before it actually takes place. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so then the rest of the tweets are, if you want to pull them up, you can, but I can also read them.
The next tweet you read them. That'd be great. Having Simo read Simo's tweets. There you go.
I'll read it, and then like, because you can then keep the locals up for people that actually care about that.
Exactly.
My next tweet was, every major, in quotes, community-run Edison tournament caps, and sometimes there's wait lists that have players hoping to fill an empty slot, and the entry fee is usually double that of a Konami event, usually $40+. And I said, also, most, if not all, Ultimate Time Wizard events capped, and if they didn't, it's because they were barely advertised.
Yep.
And so then after that, I said, why not do both, quoting the screenshot, and then I said, why not do all three? Each of the three player bases are craving something different out of the game, hire more staff, rent bigger convention spaces, and make these events even bigger and more exciting for everyone. And so then after that, I said, in quotes, but the rulings are different. And I said, there's literally an entire community-created database with nearly every Edison ruling imaginable, referencing edisonformat.net. And I said, Konami could have easily created their own official version of this. And I said, Wizards supports like 400 different formats for Magic the Gathering, just to prove that it's like, this isn't impossible for us to do. Right? And then I said, what's even more frustrating is that the prize card prior to this announcement for winning a Genesis event was a Dark End Dragon, which was the actual prize card for Edison format in 2010. And I said, you can't convince me that they happened to find a handful of Dark End Dragons after just canceling Ultimate Time Wizard events. Like, no, they've been sitting on this shit the whole time. Right? And then that's when it goes to the... That's when it goes to the tweets that you were reading before. So I can keep going, but you can...
I want to interject here. Yeah, maybe they were planning to do something for Edison or for Ultimate Time Wizard with those Dark Ends, and then somebody said, we don't want this retro shit going any further. Do something else, and they said, well, we still have these Dark Ends that we were gonna give out for Edison. Like, I feel like Dark End is so specific, like you said. It was the actual prize card for SJC Edison. It's weird to give that out now as the prize card in 2026. Like, people don't even play that card.
No, exactly. And Justin's Punch, to your point too, I'm also not saying like Hat and Goat couldn't have their own thing too. I'm just saying Edison has the biggest community for it. So that's why I'm like, and also I'm biased because I play it, but it has the biggest community, and it's like, that's not even an argument. So anyway, then it's to where you were saying, where I said, it just seems like Konami put the absolute bare minimal amount of effort into running the events. We still showed up, the community like actively tried to get people to these events, and then they said, well, we can't find a way to profit billions of dollars from this, so just nuke the whole thing, which is true. And you were just saying, the Nats, right, had like 400 or 500 people or something.
Yeah, it was 466 players, and the only reason it didn't reach 500 is because that was the weekend of a global cyber outage. There was a global cyber outage.
Didn't show, like, I think who was it? James Ark, I think, didn't get to go because I think the global cyber outage like affected his flight.
It affected a lot of people.
Like the day before, got fucked, right? That's what it was.
That's what it was. Yeah, if your flight was leaving on Friday, you were not getting to that event. Like,
so anyone who got early was fine. But it was also in Texas, which helped, which is like a huge community. Right. So then continuing on, I said, after experiencing both Pokemon and Magic events in person, Yu-Gi-Oh! Events are laughable in comparison. They're obviously not perfect, but the overall experiences are night and day. The amount of times I thought to myself, wow, they do that was remarkable at those, referencing those types of events.
Wait, can you speak to that real quick? Because you're a person who has been to, I've never been to a Pokemon tournament ever. I've been to one Magic tournament. I think it was a Star City Games, like 5K back in 2010. But can you speak to like other tournaments and other scenes? Yeah,
sure. So when it comes to Magic and Pokemon, and I'm talking about officially like sanctioned, like Wizards ran this, Pokemon Company ran this, right? I'm not talking about like SCGs or any of the other like, you know, like the RBET equivalent, right?
Right.
I'm talking about the official like Rant events. It is unbelievable the amount of effort that Pokemon Company specifically, Magic does good, but Pokemon specifically, it is over the top. Like the amount of branding and effort they put into these events to make you feel like you are in like the Pokemon's, like if you love Pokemon, like this is the place for you. It is unbelievable the amount of stuff that they do. Like there is merch everywhere. They're running every single type of event you can think of for like any way to play Pokemon. I got to play in like the first ever like sanctioned Pokemon Pocket tournament. Like that was fucking sick.
Oh, that's cool.
Like yeah, exactly. I don't think they ever did it again, which is funny. So I got to play in the only one. But like the prizing was insane. No matter which event I think just winning that tournament, you won like a case of like the newest set or whatever. It was unreal. The support for that. They have like giant LED screens. Each game had a feature match area. So if you were playing TCG, if you were playing VGC, or if you were doing other stuff, they had a stage for each like area that you could just go and like watch stuff. It's crazy. And like Yu-Gi-Oh events by comparison, it's just like there's tables and chairs, and maybe there's a banner to tell you where like something is. Like that's it, right?
That's all we get.
It's like you're in. It's usually just concrete, right? It's just like concrete,
just like
floors,
warehouse,
brick wall. Yeah, it's a warehouse. Yeah,
you're in a fucking big ass warehouse that has like you said, a couple banners, and you have a stage that they built. But the stage isn't particularly exciting either, if I'm being honest. It's literally just a black stage. They don't really brand, like you said, the branding.
It's like what they need for the equipment. It's like what they need for equipment.
Exactly.
And, like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Magic is similar. I would say Pokemon does it better, but Magic is like same thing. It's like there's just a ton of stuff. They'll hire cosplayers like to be there just for people. Like they make it more of an experience.
Oh, shit.
It's not just like you're there to play the game. It's like you can go, and even if you're not a player, you can do other cool shit while you're there and like feel like you got something out of it if you're not a player. Right. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it like a unique experience. For that's what they do way better. But anyway, I guess I'll keep going on.
Yep.
So then after that, I said, I don't know, maybe it's just better that these events are in the hands of the community at this point, because people seem to enjoy the events more when the community runs them. The prizing's way better. The judging is usually better because the judges actually, for the most part, know the rulings. There's obviously, you'll hear every now and then there's like a discrepancy, but I think if you compare like RBET or any other side event, secondary like circuit judge to like a Konami judge, it's usually way better for us. And the vibes are usually better because everyone who's at these events like gives a shit. And it's like the event organizer, the people who are hired for the event, like everyone's there because we like give a shit about the game, right?
Yep. I agree.
And then I said, I remember the first Ultimate Time Wizard in Raleigh, and everyone in the main event was absolutely miserable and would just come over to our side and just bitch about being in the main event. And then meanwhile, like you and I are over in the Ultimate Time Wizard area having a fucking blast.
Yes.
And the vibes were great, but the tournament itself was not the best run tournament because it was the first one they ever did. And that people complained about that. But even with that, everyone was still having a fucking blast. Like it was like so much fun. And like people weren't really complaining. Like even though the tournament was being run poorly, everyone's like, we're having a great time. Like who cares,
Yeah, and you know what? We always felt like second fiddle at Konami events too. I remember Orlando last year. We didn't get to start round 1 until 2 to 3 hours into. Look, we were supposed to start at the same time we always start. So if that's 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. or whatever, we didn't start until 2 to 3 hours later because they were like, well, we just don't have the space to start Ultimate Time Wizard. So even though we advertised that this is the start time, and I've been to almost all of them, we started late because we just didn't have chairs, which means they basically overbooked the main event and didn't have space. And they had to know that too, by the way, but they just didn't care. And we're like, we don't give a fuck. You guys will just start 2 hours or 3 hours later. And so we're just standing around. Everyone is there because you didn't know that was going to happen until you arrived.
Right.
And we waited until main event people dropped from their tournament, which takes at least 2 rounds for people to start going at 0-2, so that we can get space to play. And that was just like, once that happened, and that was one of the last events too, right? That's the beginning of the end, I feel like. Once that happened, I was like, this feels kind of disrespectful. Like, there's just something about showing up to something that says it's at this time and it doesn't start for 2 to 3 hours. I have a rule with my friends and my family that if we have dinner reservations somewhere and you show up a half hour late, I'm leaving. Like, I would
do that. Yeah.
I just feel like,
or I would just eat at the restaurant by myself. Either one.
That too. I just feel like it's disrespectful to just be like, be here at this time. Sure, 10 minutes, 15 minutes late. That's fine. Once it starts getting to a half hour to an hour of you just being late to do something that was scheduled, like literally it's scheduled for this time, that is disrespectful. And I understand that accidents happen, things happen, but like, when you are a major corporation, you've planned this event, people have flown to come to this event, people have booked hotels to come to this event, people got up early, showered, got there, commuted, and then you're just like, we don't have a place for you to actually play, so wait 3 hours.
Money. If they traveled, like they paid like hundreds of dollars to get there, and like for a hotel and a flight and everything. Yeah, it's disrespectful for their time. Also, shouts to Vexicus in the chat. Haven't seen Vexicus in fucking forever. Hope you're doing well, King.
What's up, Cordero?
So then continuing on, I say getting people into the Yu-Gi-Oh ecosystem in any way, in caps, is a net positive for the game. And I said, well, Edison doesn't directly benefit Konami's bottom line. It acts as a gateway to get players into the game. Then
Correct.
maybe they check out Modern or Genesis or Master Duel, and then that's where the payoff is later on for them. And so I'd said, I've taught countless people Edison who had zero interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! But play other TCGs, and they had no idea Yu-Gi-Oh! Could be played in that way because of the usual negative stigma that surrounds the game, being like, the game's over on turn 1, it's all FTKs, it's a flowchart game, whatever. And they actually then, after learning about Edison, they expressed genuine interest in playing the game. And I was messaging you before you had me on saying that's kind of what sparked me to go on this rant, was that I'd been... I just got back from doing work stuff that I can't really like go into too much detail about.
Right.
But I was teaching people this, and they're like, oh my God, like, this is so much fun. Like, I didn't realize Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like this. And then wanted to keep playing against me just to like, and these are like pro players we're talking about too. These aren't just like random people.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, like, this is so cool. And then like we would jam games like all night because they just wanted to keep playing and like learn about and like get better and like understand the game more. And they felt themselves getting better as like the more and more that they played. So they were getting like that feedback internally from the gameplay. And I think that was so cool. And it kind of just made me sad because that's like, I think I mentioned this later in the thread, but I say like, this is the type of Yu-Gi-Oh! That like I fell in love with and why I wanted to be a content creator.
Right.
And
that's a big point to me.
Yeah, and it's sad that there is a way to get people who aren't Yu-Gi-Oh! People into Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it's not officially supported, right? That's like the thing that sucks the most.
Yeah, the thing that you touched on at the very end there in your tweets was that there are different ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! You can enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! in many different ways, right? It can be Edison, it can be Redo, it can be Goats, it can be whatever, it can be Modern, it can be Genesis. You can have, like, not even the shit on Modern or Genesis, if that's not your preferred thing, sure, but people do enjoy it. And so for those people who enjoy it, I'm glad that you have it. But people who enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Retro, like Retro Yu-Gi-Oh!, I like the gameplay of Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! Even though right now I know it's funny coming from me, I'm a Frog with TK player right now, but for the most part, I like interacting with my opponents and going back and forth and like setting trap cards and setting a monster without dying. And I don't have to win on turn 1, because if I don't win on turn 1 in Modern, you basically just lose. Like when I read tournament reports or see them, they're all just talking about how I didn't open up one of my 1-card starters and my opponent had the Ash Blossom or the Imperm or whatever, and I just lost the game because I got stopped one time. And that was all it took. And I literally lost the entire match because of that. It's just like, that's not the gameplay that I want. Some people enjoy it, and that's fine. Like, it's okay that you enjoy that. At a YCS, I feel like you should be able to have Modern, Genesis, and Ultimate Time Wizard in the same place. Like, I don't know why you can't have all of it.
That's what I mean. Like, when they, going back to when they say, why not both? It's like, why not everything? You know, when there's Magic events and Pokemon events, they're literally running, I can't even tell you how many different types of variants of ways to play the game, but they're running all of it, you know?
Yeah,
so,
I feel like this is this right here, so as a wise person once said, why don't we do both? That to me,
that's actually what made me write this rant. That that line is what sparked all of this.
Also, Brandon Crank, thank you for the $5. Always, I appreciate all the donations and everything, guys. So definitely want to put that out there. I didn't miss it, but yeah, I really don't like that. I feel like it's trying to be either snarky or petty or both, and why are we doing that, right? Like, why are you, I feel like they're punching down at that point. It just gives punching down vibes. Like, you already axed Ultimate Time Wizard, right? You've wiped your hands of it, and now you see that we're still running events, we're still doing our own thing, grassroots, like we were before they came into the picture. But like, to be like, why not both, when we were literally saying why not both, is crazy. Like, don't gaslight us now.
I'll give that person the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're only on the Genesis team or something like that, and maybe they don't know. Like, I don't want to, like, you know, I don't want to assume that was like a indirect shot, right? Like, so I'm willing to just kind of like forget. But it, as like us who are passionate about this, it does sting, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to go after them for that.
The
Quickly,
language
IGN
just
Natago,
really
you're talking about coders saying it's because of the rulings in the erratums. I said earlier, I don't know when you joined, but I said earlier, Konami has the resources to hire judges who have Edison knowledge. Keegan does it. Anyone who runs Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! As like a circuit does it. It's doable. Konami just didn't put in the effort, or they hired the wrong people. And that's on them in either situation.
Yep.
Right? So that's on them.
To act like it can't happen because of ruling differences is crazy, when I literally just came back from 2 successful events 2 successful events that
I
were
heard that was
completely
an amazing event, by the way. I was trying to go,
Insane.
but I'm like, I have chemo, I can't do it. But I heard it was really well ran.
It was, so Raleigh, shout out to your wife Brittany, who put me on to Herons and the Umstead. Amazing.
You didn't go.
I didn't go this time because I was with my best friend, wasn't with me, and he's the only person that will spend $300 on dinner.
Sorry.
So I didn't go to Herons this time. But my whole thing is like, that event was run. It was one of the best events I've been to, Simo. First of all, it was ran on a college campus. It was a beautiful room we were in. It was well illuminated. The time, Konami, for whatever reason, at Ultimate Time Wizards, we never knew the time. You had to ask a judge.
We never had a clock. I didn't even like. There's many things I did not get into on this thread, but yeah, we never had a clock after the first event. Like, okay, they were trying to figure it out. Maybe it's forgivable, right? The second event, we should probably have a clock by this point. The third event, we still didn't have a fucking, and every time there was never a clock, and it was just frustrating because there was usually one judge for the whole event, and people would have to shout across the room, "Judge, how much fucking time is left?"
Do you know how annoyed I would be as a judge, though, that most of my judge calls are how much time is left? That is disrespectful to the judge that you put in that place. That is very disrespectful to them.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
Sorry, Tago. I didn't realize you were not disagreeing or anything. I apologize.
I was really annoyed that is the excuse that a lot of people used for why, like, oh, the rulings thing. It's like, bro, you know how many RBETs there have been? You know how now that we're having LDSs, we're having Retro Reborn events, we're having all kinds of grassroots events.
Yeah.
People.
One in Vegas in May, by the way, so I hope to see you there.
Well, so I'm actually flying from Japan back to the States on the day before that event. I'm trying to now change my flight to go from Tokyo, Japan to, so my flight was originally coming back to like where I live. I'm trying to get it to go straight to Vegas from Tokyo, Japan now. I'm so serious. Like, I'm trying to go from Japan to Tokyo, or from Japan to Vegas. Yeah, I know. What the fuck is that about?
We're a big airport, but we're not like an international airport. That's the thing. We're not like on the coast. That's the biggest problem.
Because it was very expensive. I was like, why is it so expensive to do? Or it was like a layover or something I had to do.
You have to go through like LA or San Fran typically.
Oh my God. I want to go so bad.
I'll give you the heads up for that. But yeah.
Thank you. Because I was looking at it and it was like connecting. It was always connecting something.
Yeah. I think Gage and Ruxin are coming out too, so that'll be a good time. So if you're here, we get to ball out on food too. So hopefully you can make it.
Going to try my hardest to make that event. I really want to go to Vegas. It's crazy that it lined up perfectly with my Japan trip this year, because last year I went at a different time, but this time it lines up like I'm coming back to the States. And yeah, I'm gonna try my hardest to get to that event. I really want to go, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully I can make it. I'll let you know if I can. Then you can include all the reservations.
I need to frame this tweet or this message. Amada said, would love if Konami hired Simo as a consultant. Boy, they don't know my history with them. Anyway, back to the tweets. So I continue on saying, if Konami wants to profit from Edison, I literally said, make the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Retro Battle Pack, where they can print all the cards to make it even more accessible than it already is, because you can build any Edison deck for like $20, basically. You can make special rarities of the cards for collectors, so maybe they bring back like ultis of cards that don't have ultis in like the retro frame, right? Or maybe with the new frame break full art shit. Imagine a full art Caius, how hard that would go, right?
That would look fucking insane.
Yeah, like they have the or like full art brain control. Oh my God. Anyway, and then I said, but it's also draftable. Like one of Yu-Gi-Oh's biggest problems from a product perspective that Magic doesn't have is that people can draft Magic, but Yu-Gi-Oh is impossible to draft because the game doesn't lend itself that way.
Right.
Edison is like one of the only formats that you could build a set and like draft it. And I know this because I literally made a whole simulator for people to draft it. You and I did that on my channel.
And I played it with my friends, and they continue to play it.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not perfect, right? Like, obviously you have to make some concessions to that, but it's like, it's the closest thing you can get to doing like a real draft experience for Yu-Gi-Oh! And it feels good. Like, you don't feel like your pulls are shit. Like, most of the time, like, you get good cards, and every game feels like it's playable, right?
Absolutely.
And so I made the argument that people would, not even just like us as like a community would buy the fuck out of that. People who are old school Yu-Gi-Oh heads would also buy that because it's like, oh, I remember like all these old cards, because Edison does play with a lot of old cards that people remember, right? So people would be like, that's so cool. Like, I remember these cards. So like people would just buy that anyway, just to like remember the old cards. And if someone gets like a full art like Heavy Storm or BrainCon or whatever,
that would be
right?
so
like
sick. Full art Heavy Storm would go crazy.
Yeah, so it's like they have like I've talked about this with Keegan before. The biggest issue with that, they could probably do that one time and never do it again. But I feel like that set would be a home run. But maybe I'm delusional. I don't know.
I think that they could even do it in waves. They can do like, you can release the Blackwing. You could do a Blackwing one, and then you could do a Frog one, and then you could do like a Liceworm one, and they could be like little sets that are only $2 a pack or something. I don't know. Somebody can work out the math and logistics of it, but you could do something to like have Edison players really excited to buy actual product.
Frazier, if you do want to go to that event, Gage messaged me, said register right now because 200 people have already signed up.
That's what I saw. Yeah. So I'm gonna after this stream, I am going to try to change my flight to come back Thursday to Vegas. Originally, I was going to come back Friday to like Philly, basically, and now I want to try to get to Vegas on Thursday. That way I can be there all of. I'm going to be jet lagged as fuck, but I want to be there all of Friday to try to get my bearings back on my and then just play in the event. And also, I'm good friends with Lewis, the TO who's running that event.
I should be able to get you in anyway.
I should be fine. Like I appreciate everybody because I saw someone in the comments also saying like, hey, it's already up to 200 and everything. And I if I want to play in the event, I should be fine to play in the event. But if you are thinking about going, or if you know you're going, definitely register right now because it is filling up really fast.
Because people had a really good time at the first one, and it wants the Edison Arena Simulator.
That's what I put it
in the chat.
Yeah, thank you so
Someone
much.
was asking for it. I hope the link was okay.
I'm gonna send it to me, and then I'm gonna post it in chat because I don't think links work for anyone but me and.
Oh, does it not? Here, let me do that then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope,
it looks like it went on my end. Here you go.
It doesn't show you that. It's completely not in that thing until.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, Twitch will be like, oh, yeah, it doesn't show you. Okay. And then, continuing on, I said, old Yu-Gi-Oh! Is why I fell in love with the game, and the sentiment shared by a lot of people who grew up watching the show every Saturday morning, and people don't realize that Yu-Gi-Oh! As an IP has made more money than fucking Call of Duty, which is, like, insane to think about, because, like, everyone talks about Call of Duty nowadays, but, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not like that.
Right.
But mathematically, Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the top, granted, Yu-Gi-Oh!'s been out longer, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, at one point, Yu-Gi-Oh! People don't realize was like a top 10 IP like in the world. Like that was it back in the day. It was so monumental that there was few things that could touch it. And now obviously over time Yu-Gi-Oh has dwindled, but the fact that it still made more money than Call of Duty across the entirety of its lifespan is insane.
That is I didn't know that. That is wild.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until recently. I was like, that's an insane stat. So then I said that it's just sad when I get excited about people playing Edison and like learning it like for the first time, but there's like no official place to direct them because the amount of times I've had the conversation of like, oh hey, this is really cool, where can I go? And I'm like, you don't really have an option. Like it's like you have to go on the black market, side circuits, right, that are community run, and like that's it. Like or you go online and play in like like what you're hosting right now, or you just have to find like the online communities. Like there isn't an official way to do this, and then any excitement that they have just immediately vanishes because they're like, oh, well, that sucks. And because they want to play like officially sanctioned stuff, right? And I don't blame them, And so they're just like, well, all right, I guess I'm not going to do this now. And so I ended the thread by just saying, call me a Yu-Gi boomer, that I'm in the Yu-Gi-Oh retirement home. It shouldn't feel like pulling fucking teeth to get someone to join your game's community, regardless of your preferred way to play the game.
Yeah, that's what stuck out to me the most is that I feel like we got ostracized for no reason. Like if you wanted to do Genesis and you felt like you had to do one or the other, that's just not real. I feel like people who want to play Genesis were always going to play Genesis, and people who want to play Ultimate Time Wizard are still going to continue to play Edison, as you can see from all the events that have happened this past weekend. RBET in Vienna was over 300 players, and the LDS in Raleigh was over 250 players. So you have over 500 players, almost 600 players, if not actually 600 players, I think. Yeah, the math works out to 6. You have 600 people playing retro Yu-Gi-Oh on the same weekend in different parts of the world too. It's crazy.
Say that if you did. Yeah.
Also, that link, can you send me the what's up, Nim? Can you send me the link to the draft thing? It didn't go through on. I don't know where you sent it at, but it's not on Discord. I don't see it.
Oh, I sent it to Gage. Well,
oh shit. That's why Gage showed up.
Because Gage messaged me about the LDS thing, and
he's
so
probably like, what the hell?
I know. He's like, why'd you send me this? He's like, I know what this is. Yeah, sorry. There you go.
No, it's all good. All right, so I'm gonna pin that, guys. If you want to play Simo's draft for Edison format, which is actually really fucking cool,
it's so fun.
I played it with him on his subathon. You did a subathon a couple months ago.
I did.
And I played against Simo, and it was actually a very close set that he could have won.
So, I could have won. That's why I was so pissed.
Like he actually could have beat me 100%. He had it. So it's really fun. And Gary and Stango and Luke Feeney, like a true hero, my friends, they also occasionally will play this exact same simulator.
Glad they like it.
No, I mean, they love it because the other simulator crashes.
Yeah, you can adjust it too. So if you make your own cube, you can just load that, and if you want to take stuff out or put stuff in, it's easy to modify. So.
Yeah, what they ended up doing was increasing the number of cards you get, so that and this was what I talked to you about, like making it where
because you're like, oh, I only get 40 cards. Yeah, I kind of like that for content that you only get 40 on the dot. Yeah, because it's like each pick matters like a lot, even if there's like bad picks.
That's true.
I thought it's fun to have some bad cards for content reasons.
I think they did like 45, so not too. It's not like they didn't go like 50 cards or anything. It was just like 45 or something like that. Some odd
having
number.
an extra 5 is pretty good.
Yeah, and then that way it's just like you can cut like some of the cards that are just this does not synergize at all with my deck or doesn't even, but
yeah,
it's really fun and definitely check it out if you haven't already, guys.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But
yeah, it's just sad. I mean, I think that's like the overall sentiment I think we all share as Edison players. It's like, yeah, like obviously the community sort of taking up the reins, and we have Keegan, we have the LDS, we have
Retro Reborn.
Retro Reborn. Like there are people who do want to do this, and they're finding ways to make it work. And like I said, the crazy part is they're charging double, sometimes triple what Konami was asking for an entry fee, and people are like, "Fuck it, I'm in." Like, sure, no problem, that's fine.
Yeah, that is crazy that the entry fee is literally double.
Yeah,
and the
pricing is also like another thing I didn't touch on, is because it was just like, again, there was a special mat just for playing in an Ultimate Time Wizard, and that was nice. The problem is that it was the same mat that you would get for top 8.
I forgot about this, Simo. You're bringing up some traumatic memories.
I'm sorry, but it's relevant. It's the same mat that if you just won a 16-player Edison Time Wizard pod, you got the same mat as top 8ing the Ultimate Time Wizard, which is way harder because you can only go X1 to top.
That was another thing. You had to be X1.
Yeah, like I would argue it was harder than main event, because main event you can go like X2 and shit, and like you
sometimes
have to play
X3.
more round, sure. Yeah, sometimes X3 you can top, or like X2-1, right? But if you lost one, you were like, and even if you lost one early too, on top of it, because not all X1s like typically, like I think, or did all X1s always make it? I thought there was one time.
There was one event. There was one event where GYBU in Houston 2025.
That's what it was. Yep.
He didn't make it. He got 9th place. He actually beat me, and then got 9th place. So that fucking sucks. You're X1 and you don't top. That is crazy.
Right. That's crazy, and they never changed it. And also, we did all this. It was still a 2-day event, which, like, sure, whatever. But yeah, no, like there even if there was just like a little tiny logo on it that said, top 8 Ultimate Time Wizard, or like something, right? Like just to distinguish those mats from. And okay, the best part is we're talking about playing for a fucking mat.
I know, right?
This is like that's the only other difference is what first place got the dark end. That was or not? No,
the giant card.
First place got the giant card. That's what it was, the giant card. And that was it. Like, if you got anywhere else, you didn't get anything.
Second and third get a oversized card. They get a smaller version. Yeah, they get a smaller version of it. But still, like, to your point, like, so many things are wrong. First of all, 4th place getting shafted for no fucking reason at all is crazy.
Sucks.
Like, it's just like I got top 4 and my pricing is no different than anyone who got top 8. That just, the salt of that, I don't know why they like that shit, but Konami really enjoys the whole 4th place gets nothing thing, which I think they changed it now, but I think that shit was so cringe. Like, I think 4th place now gets things in YCSs. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't play Modern anymore, but I swore I saw that.
I don't either. So, like, they've been changing the pricing, so now that there's, like, prize packs with, like, stamped cards. Right. So I think each tier you go up.
Right.
I think there's, like, a stamped card you get for each, like, top 32, top 16, whatever. And then there's, I think it's, like, a pack that you get, like, one of, like, 10 random stamped cards or something.
Nylon
like that. So
confirmed.
They've been slowly increasing like the pricing at higher brackets.
Right. Because usually 4th would have to play off, 3rd and 4th would have to play off to see who gets pricing. And if you just lost that one match, mind you, you're playing that match in the worst mental state you could possibly be playing a match of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yep. You just got eliminated from the main event, so your chances of being a YCS champion for the first time or again are just completely gone. Now they want you to immediately pick up your shit, move to another secluded area, play someone who also just lost for more pricing that is actually worth money, but like mentally you're kind of bummed out because you lost. And so now they want you to like, okay, continue to dance. And I've been in that situation multiple times before. It does not feel good. I can tell you, you play way more aggressive. You're not trying to make reads as much. You kind of just don't care. It's not fun. It's just not fun. And then the walk, and then if you lose, which I've had that happen before as well, if you lose that top 4 thing, it just feels so bad because now you just get nothing. Like you just get nothing.
Yeah. And then on top of it, first place, you get the giant card, which is cool. And the giant card they are worth like, a couple grand each.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is it's the most awkward, inconvenient prize to award if you traveled from out of state.
Yep.
Because now you have to find a way to ship that fucking thing
and it's a
back
minimum
to your house.
$200.
I've seen some people like bring them on planes, which is even more insane.
That's
to me.
crazy. I would never.
They basically like bought a seat on the plane for the card, which is hilarious.
Which is hundreds of dollars. Yeah, it's a minimum of $200 to ship it too.
And Konami has like no way, like they're like, that's your problem, basically. So most people, if they don't want to keep the card, they try to sell it at the event just to like get the, the money. You're not supposed to talk about that, but that's what they do. Yeah. Or they sell it to the vendor. The vendors might buy it too.
Yeah, vendor got mine basically, in so many ways.
But then on top of it, they were reprinting the same prize cards for the giant cards. At first it was cool because it's like, oh, here's a DMOC. Oh, here's a Pot of Greed, right? And then it's like, okay, here's the 5th DMOC or like the 5th Pot of Greed, right?
That's what I hated. They kept reprinting them.
Yeah, they kept using the same cards. Like, it would have been cool. It's like, okay, this time it's Pot. This time it's DMOC, which DMOC's weird because we don't play DMOC. This time it's Substitute, right? This time it's JD,
yep,
right?
That's the one I got.
Dad. Like, just pick like Ab-Zero, right? Like, pick like the iconic
Christia,
Christia,
Heraclinos.
Like, there's so easy. Heraclinos is a good one. Yeah. Armor Master. Like, there's so many, like, Stardust Dragon. There's so many slam dunks they could do, right? But they kept reprinting the same, like, 3 fucking cards for every prize,
just destroying
which
the
diminished the value
market.
of everyone who won before or won one later because it was the same fucking card, right? So now the prizing has diminishing value on top of everything.
I've just kind of repressed, I guess, a lot of these things from my mind because it's been like 7 months since they stopped. The last event was in like June or July last year.
And you're like, shit, these sucked.
Yeah, like when you bring it up now, all the things that just were ridiculous at the end there, it's like the reprinting was, I hated that. I hated that. Even when I was playing in them, I was like, why is the prize card? First of all, they wouldn't communicate before the event what the prize card was. Whereas in Europe, they blatantly told you in Europe, like, hey, you're playing for Goyo Guardian this weekend. Hey, you're playing for Dark Arm this weekend. We would have to show up, and then the Friday night before the event, they would have it on display in the convention center, and they'd be like, oh, this is the prize tomorrow. But they wouldn't put it on the website anymore. And I feel like they were doing that on purpose because they realized they were going to keep giving out reprints, and they didn't want to like make people say, I don't want to go to this now because you're giving out the 6th JD or the 6th DMOC or the 5th Pot of Greed. So just, I don't know. It's just really bad practices all around for that.
Yeah. And Nylon said, I remember this, they said they did hat format at Nats, but it was a different format because it was a different master rule. So it wasn't even real hat format. And it's just like, I don't know. It's the overall message I was trying to convey with this, even though it sounded like I was just ranting, was that it's frustrating being so passionate about something when the company that runs it is actively trying so hard to make you not enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, it doesn't have to be this way, but that's the reality of it. And it's sad because as I slowly like ingratiate myself in other communities, I see what it's like. It's very much like grass is greener on the other side because I get to see like the cool stuff these other games do. And they have their gripes, but it's so funny because I'll listen to their gripes about their games.
And you're like, you don't know how good you have it.
You guys don't have a fucking clue what we deal with on our side, right? And so I think that's just like, I could understand if they were a small indie company, didn't have the resources to do it. But the fact that like people like Keegan or like LDS or Retro Reborn, the fact that like there are grassroots efforts that can easily do the same thing and do it better is just kind of sad to me.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. It's crazy. All of the arguments that I've heard against Ultimate Time Wizard are proven wrong by the fact that there are grassroots communities just doing it without millions and billions of dollars behind it, without even well, honestly, without even thousands and thousands of dollars behind it. Like, these people are like you said, the entry fees are doubled basically because they aren't backed by like a company that produces Metal Gear Solid and all the pachinko machines in Japan, and all the other revenue streams that Konami Digital Entertainment has, so that they can fund something like Yu-Gi-Oh, because they literally are a $1 billion company, not $1 million company. They are a $1 billion company. So it's just what are we doing here? Like I don't get it.
People don't realize that Yu-Gi-Oh makes more money than the pachinko machines as well, which is insane to think. But it's. Someone asked earlier, like, why are the entry fees double? It's like you said, one, these grassroots efforts, they don't have the backing of Konami to be able to sort of they can, because they're already renting the big space and everything. It's not like much more effort for Konami to be able to like host an event, right? But
like first of all,
on top of it too, the prizing that these events are giving is leagues better in some instances than because and it's not even just first place. Yes, Konami prizing is probably better in the sense that like monetarily you probably come out more ahead, but it's the top cut that even if you don't get first, you still get something way better than if you got like third place in an Ultimate Time Wizard.
Yeah.
And so you're helping pay for that prizing essentially, which is like ulti Caius's or like ulti whatever, right? Typically it's just like ulti of like whatever or like ghost rares of like whatever the
Ghost Rare Stardust first edition is one of the prizing that's for Retro Reborn.
Ulti Caius is very common for a lot of these. I keep keying every time it's like ulti Caius.
Triple ulti Caius. So
yeah, not just 1, 3, which is crazy because that's like money.
Yeah, like genuinely. And it's also something that here's what I like about it. It's relevant to the format you're playing. So if you want to keep them, you can use them. Like Jake XO.
You mean I can't play my giant Judgment Dragon in my Lightsworn deck? That's illegal.
Right. Or the fucking prize cards they're currently giving out for Modern that are unplayable. It's like it's nice to have relevant things as prizing. So winning the Caius's, Jake XO won the Caius's, and then he was like, "Oh, I can actually use these. I can use these."
And then it's cool because then it's like you get to play with your prize, right? I'm pretty sure like some of like because Gage has been on a tear lately. I'm pretty sure he still like keeps some of the stuff that he's won because he's like, "Oh, I can play with this," right?
Yep.
So
yeah, I actually won a second Ulti Colossal Fighter this past weekend on Sunday. Part of my prizing was a mat invite to a thing, and then also this Ultimate Colossal Fighter, which I didn't even know I was getting a card when I got top 8. But the Ulti Colossal Fighter, I actually played 2 Colossal Fighters. I only had 1 Ulti and I had 1 starter deck super rare.
There you go.
And so when the guy put it on my map, I was like, oh shit, I have 2 Ulti Colossal Fighters now. Like, how nice. And I think that card's over $100. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's over $100. So I was happy. I don't have to spend $100 to ice out my deck even more. So that was cool.
Right. And like on top of it, you don't have to pay to ship your prizing home if you win it.
Oh,
right.
It's like, oh cool.
It went in my deck box.
Yeah.
Because you're already neg 200 if you win that, right? Minimum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that is so crazy. You win and you incur an expense.
Yeah, literally, you do. Yeah. Ulti Colossal apparently is like 200 now, by the way.
Wow. So I just won $200 that I don't have to come out of pocket for because I was going to have to get one eventually just to max rarity my deck even more.
Same when you win cash though. Yeah, but Konami doesn't give you cash. So
yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're big against that.
Yeah.
When is Frogs for episode 3?
Some of these events will give out like cash. Usually it's cards, but like there are some that have like just straight up just done cash, and like that's cool too.
Yeah, and certain times they'll buy back too. Like certain grassroots things. I know on Sunday, one of the things at the LDS they did a PS5. Like a PS5 was the first place prize, I believe. And I'm pretty sure because he knows, like the TO knows who the fuck wants to carry home a PS5 unless you already either live in North Carolina or you drove there and you can just put it in the trunk. It's not as bad as a giant car because like at least you can put it in the trunk. But he was offering a buyback on the PS5, so it's like if you don't want it, you can just I don't know how much. I'm not even going to say a number, but like here's however many hundreds of dollars for the PS5. I'll just take it back.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It just sucks, Yep. It's just it doesn't have to be this way, and it
doesn't have to be this way. Yeah, here we are. But I appreciate you, man, for coming on and just basically putting those tweets into real life. Like now I have the full CMO experience on how he feels about Genesis and Ultimate Time Wizard and everything. And I
suck at the game. It's not like I'm winning any of these events and I feel this way, you know?
Yeah, and to me, the thing. It's always about people just want to play the game. Like, there are hundreds of people who show up, and they don't exactly think that they're going to like win the whole event. Some people show up, they show up and they literally say, "I'm here because I wanted to meet you in person. I'm here because I like the vibes. I'm here because I wanted to play side events." Some people are like, "I'm not even here for the main event. I'm gonna leave that to you guys who are tryharding. I'm gonna go play side events because I know I can probably snipe a side event, Matt. If everyone who's really, really good is in the main event day one," and people just grind the side event. Some guy was walking around with like 3 mats, and he's like, "Yeah, I got all the mats because all you guys are fucking playing in the main event." Like, everyone plays for their own reasons, and having the platform and the ability to do that is just nice. And there's no reason why the company who owns and runs the game cannot allocate for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at this point we've been around long enough, like both you and I, that we just like, we know this is kind of just like how things are.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I might make a video, not exactly about the Edison stuff, but like more of this overarching, because right now you're seeing a lot of changes that Konami's making, right? They're improving pricing for the events. They're making the full arts. They're like Genesis is like, I mean, they're very gung-ho about this because it seems like Konami NA has like full autonomy on it, which is why they're able to do that, where before everything usually has to go through Japan for like approval and stuff. And so you're seeing all these changes happening. And I see a lot of people sort of like praising Konami for these changes, and that's fine. But the problem is we're so ingrained in this like abusive relationship with them, in the sense of like, oh, we get shit on for 5 years, and like, oh, look, Daddy Konami gave us a piece of bread, right? Cool.
Yep.
Like, this is like the best we've gotten in 5 years. And then it's supposed to like make up for everything that's been bad historically, or like what they may do in the future, right? And then things like become shitty again, whether it's like a bad format or like whatever, and then people go back to complaining, right? And so the reason that Konami is making these changes to the pricing, for the full arts, for a lot of this stuff, is because their bottom line is hurting. And I think historically, and you can probably agree with this, Konami only makes changes when they feel like their back is to the wall and they have to.
I agree.
And for anyone who's been paying attention to like the greater market of things, Konami product has on release immediately lost half of its value, and distributors...
What is up with that?
So it's because... I'll go into this. And this is why I wanted to make a video on it.
Yeah.
So it's because people have no confidence in Yu-Gi-Oh! Product anymore because Konami aggressively reprints everything. Yep. Here's a perfect example. The Starlight Rare came out in, I think, Rise of the Duelist several years ago. It was like 5 years ago at this point.
Okay.
And that was supposed to be the new Chase rarity. That was supposed to be the new Ghost Rare, right? And so your Starlight Rares were supposed to be the super high-end, high-rarity version of any particular card, just like a Ghost Stardust. Unfortunately, they made this thing called Rarity Collection, and Rarity Collection reprinted, not just Rarity Collection, but now they've done 4 Rarity Collections total, and there's a 5th one coming, where they basically reprint any card imaginable in like 10 different rarities, and one of these rarities, which is the Quarter Century Secret Rare, looks basically identical to a Starlight Rare. And so, as a result of that, these new premium, these are supposed to be the high-end collector items, cratered in value because now you can have a card that basically looks exactly the same that doesn't cost like what a Starlight Rare cost. And so, essentially, the greater issue is that there's no faith in the market, the secondary market with Konami, because they're so aggressive with reprinting everything into the sun that now people don't want to buy product, like the collector market especially, doesn't want to buy the product because they have no faith in it. And so as a result of that, the value immediately tanks. They are selling the boxes lower than what the shops pay the distributors for them, which is crazy. Insane. Yeah, so like the distributors will pay like $40 a box trying to sell it for like 70, 80, whatever. And the value of the box will go below that. So they lose money instantly on the box. So shops are like, why the fuck am I stocking Yu-Gi-Oh! If I'm just going to lose value on it as soon as the set sells? And I'm literally buying this to lose money. What's the point?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So now shops stop stocking. It's not. And so as a result of that, shops stop stocking Yu-Gi-Oh! They stop hosting Yu-Gi-Oh! Events because they don't stock Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore. And so now people now can't get caught. Like there's just like less cards like going around. And so then it's a self-fulfilling cycle of it never ends, right? And so this has been going on for years. Like, you can look historically. I think it's the last like 10 or 11 core sets have cratered in value as soon as they've launched.
That's what I've been hearing.
And there's like, yeah, and like there may be a card or two in there that like has some value, but everyone's like, oh, it's just gonna get reprinted in 3 months in Rarity Collection fucking infinity, right? Or it's gonna get reprinted in whatever set. So like, why would I care about this? And so, like I said, historically, they only make these big changes when they feel like their back is to the wall and it's affecting the bottom line. And I think they're making this new Grandmaster rare and all these things to try to what's
Grandmaster rare?
That's the new, like, the full art, the like the frame.
Is that what they call it?
I think they're called Grandmaster rare. Yeah. And so, well, there's also like the super premium serialized one as well. So there's like only 100 of them total, and it says like 1 of 100 or whatever. So they're going that route too. So they are making these changes because
these are big changes too. Wow.
It's a problem. Like, this is a problem, and it's been a problem, and now they're trying to like correct course. And the thesis of my whole video was going to be, is it too late, essentially? Because even if they make these changes, right? They have the full arts coming out, the pricing's good, like all this stuff. Stores don't want to get fucking burned again buying Yu-Gi-Oh product because historically, anytime they have done this, they have basically said, like, pulled the rug out from under them. No, not trying to make an Edison pun, but like they pull the rug out underneath, saying, "Fuck you, we're going to reprint this," and now all your stock has no value, right? And so, why, as a shop owner, when I've been burned several times from this company, and I believe that Konami is going to come out with this new premium rarity, and a few years later, it's just going to tank in the market and crater again, because they're going to reprint it in Rarity Collection 48 in the same rarity.
Are the reprints happening that fast too? Like, if I get let's say a Molotron comes out and it's a secret rare, it's a chase card, and it costs like, let's say $70, are they really reprinting it within the next 6 months?
Sometime sooner.
Wow.
Yeah, Rarity Collection was both good and a mistake at the same time, I feel like, in terms of like it's greater effects on how it's affected like the market of the game, for sure.
Also, and we haven't even talked about, and you know, you're going to do your video, we haven't even gotten into
I might do it, we'll see. I'm hesitant, but we'll see. I
think it would be great. If you don't do it, I might have to talk about it. The whole, is it too late? Because here's my other thing too. We haven't even gotten into the issues with actual gameplay of Yu-Gi-Oh! Currently, like modern Yu-Gi-Oh's gameplay issue, because it does have issues. And they are currently addressing like basically other problems like logistics, things that are going on with the stores that are official Konami stores. They're going through things with like the secondary market, basically addressing the problems there where people don't have faith in the product. They're addressing those things. They're addressing the pricing. They have not addressed the fucking game though. The actual game of Yu-Gi-Oh! How do you get a child ages 6 and older, as it says on every pack? How do you get a child to play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! As is? It is impossible for a 6-year-old to play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not convinced that this game is made for children anymore.
I have a great anecdote for this, if you'll allow me.
I would love.
In the Vegas Facebook group for Yu-Gi-Oh!, which somehow still exists, there was a mom who posted in there saying, "Hey, I have a 10-year-old son. Can someone like teach him how to play? He bought like a structure deck and some cards, and like he just wants someone to help like to play with, essentially."
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this because there can be a lot of weird people. And I have like an online presence, so this person can like feel confident that I'm like, not like, I mean, I'm weird, but I'm not that weird.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. And then everyone in the comments is like backing me, like, oh, Simo's like the perfect person for this. Like he's you can trust him, like he's fine. So that was nice of people to do that. So I go to this woman's house, and I just sit down with the son, and we're just like, all right, let's play. And so he bought the the newest Blue Eyes structure deck.
Yep.
Okay, that's the one that just came out like recently.
Yep.
And he starts to try playing the game, and he just doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing.
Oh,
like
no.
he tries to play like one card and like resolves it incorrectly. And I was like trying to explain to him like, oh, this is like how this is supposed to work, yada yada yada.
Oh no.
And it was
that's so
miserable
awkward. Yeah.
experience. Right. Now, I came prepared, thankfully. So I made the equivalent of...
you're such a type A personality. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's call them enhanced GOAT decks. They're not complete GOAT decks because I didn't have enough like extra like GOAT cards to make 2 full decks.
Yeah.
So there's like Cyber Dragon, there's like Pot of Duality.
Sure.
There's like simple cards to understand, but they're like not crazy overpowered. Right. So I call them enhanced GOAT decks.
Yep.
And I said, okay, this isn't working. Can I offer we try something else? And they're like, sure. So I pull out these decks and I said, I made these decks specifically because I thought it'd be easy for you to understand and like learn the rules. And I think it'd be a good time. Like, do you want to try it? And they're like, absolutely. And so it only took the first game and everything just clicked. Like, they're like, this is a normal summon. Like, this is how spells work. This is how traps work. Here's a special summon, right? You know?
Yeah.
And got the kid all of a sudden falls in love with it. And even the mom is like a gamer too. And she's like, can I try this? And I'm like, be my guest. And so now all of a sudden, the mom and the son are playing together, understanding everything. They make a mistake here and there, but for the most part, every card has like one line of text on it. So it's not that hard to understand. And I was there for like 6 hours and they were just jamming games like the whole time. And I was kind of just there like reffing essentially.
Yeah, that's awesome actually, because you had to use Ultimate Time Wizard to teach them how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And pretty much that is my point.
Right. And so it was a really cool experience. The mom ended up like paying me for it. I'm like, I wasn't expecting to get paid. I just wanted to do it to be like nice.
Yeah.
She ended up like just giving me like $100. She's like, oh, thanks for your time or whatever. I'm like, you didn't have to do that, but like, sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. But the moral of the story is it took retro Yu-Gi-Oh! To teach a 10-year-old, not even 6, a 10-year-old who could understand concepts a bit better than obviously a 6-year-old. And the fact that that's what it took is like you had to pull out basically enhanced GOAT decks in order to teach Yu-Gi-Oh! To people is my exact issue with modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And the problem that modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Has with getting new players, because that is their biggest underlying issue that they are trying to tackle. It's in their financial statements. It is in their actual financials right now that it says, like, you know, they do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And their biggest weakness / threat is that they don't know how to get new players. Everyone who's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Modern right now has been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Modern for years. New players
like we're used to as each set has come out. Like the biggest like shift would probably be like when Pendulums came out. That was like a huge shift, right? And Link Monsters sort of. But if you're actively playing, it's not a huge jump to go from no Pendulum Monsters to Pendulum Monsters, right? But if you have no experience, good fucking luck. And so I didn't mean to cut you off. But
no, you're right. If you have no experience playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is like the example that I use. Imagine just bringing like a 10-year-old kid to locals, and he's excited. He sees all these cards, all these, the stores are pretty nice looking, and he sees people of all ages playing this card game. It looks really interesting. The cards are shiny. Everything's great. Like everything about the vibe is fantastic until you get to the point where it's time for him to try to play it himself. The kid is already nervous about playing a new game because every human being who's ever tried a new game is nervous. But then when they get overwhelmed, when people are trying to explain that this is going to take a 6-minute combo that you're about to do. It's going to take you 6 minutes to get through this, and you have to memorize all these steps. You have to do it all correctly, and if you mess up at any point, it's illegal. And it's just like, it's too much. You can't just set up monsters, set up back row, and pass anymore. Like, you will die if you do that. Like, you will literally lose the actual game if you ever think that that's okay. So, it's not I think, good for new people.
I think what my two biggest takeaways from that was one, not only did the mom get interested in wanting to play, but the fact then that they both wanted to keep playing with each other. Like one of them would win or lose and be like, do you want to play again? And they'd be like, sure. And like, I jumped in for like a game or two when like one of them would have to like go to the bathroom or like take a phone call or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that not only was someone interested as a spectator, but then as they were playing was like reinforcing that conditioning of, oh, this is fun. I like saw what I did wrong in the previous games. Let me try to correct that. And I saw that as they were playing, because I told you I was there for like 6 hours. I wasn't expecting to be for that long, but it was fun. So I was just like, fuck it, like I'll stay. At one point the mom was like, do you want lunch? I'm like, yeah, sure. So she like got me like, she's like ordered like DoorDash or whatever. And so yeah, like the fact that they just like kept one, and again, as a 10-year-old, right? Like the mom was older, so like obviously, brain more developed, but the son was like really picking up on it and having a lot of fun. And the mom was like, oh, can you like send me like a list of all the cards in these decks so I can like buy these, and that my son and I, or even like him and his friends, can like play together? And I'm like, absolutely, that's very easy for me to do. So I did that. And this same thing happened when I was away traveling and I was teaching other people how to play. We were at so when we were playing till like, the early hours of the morning, we were at a bar, like just sitting there playing, and there was like people coming over to us in the bar that are like, oh, what game is this? And we're telling them, and they're like, this looks like really interesting. And so just like, again, this is old Yu-Gi-Oh! So just like having that, that like draw for people, seeing us all having a good time, like what that is, I think that is emblematic of a good game, right?
Yes.
And
also not
Modern
looking like
Yu-Gi-Oh!
it's too much, because if you walked up on someone doing a modern combo, you would be like, that looks like it's way too much happening.
No, precisely. And so you'll appreciate this metaphor I'm about to make because I know your background. I like to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the fighting game of card games, because modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically. Because if you want to get into modern Yu-Gi-Oh! With minimal background, you essentially have to do the homework. You have to spend time not playing with other people, or if you're playing online, whatever, that's fine.
Right.
You have to learn your combos. You have to learn what your opponent's combos are. You have to learn when you can stop those combos, and you have to learn when your combos get interrupted, what your next actions are. It is very, like, I know people don't like to say that modern Yu-Gi-Oh! is flowcharty, but it is very similar to how a new player approaches a fighting game. You're going to get your ass kicked a billion times, and you have to learn how these cards work together prior to even sitting down to playing a game with someone else, right? Master Duel can sort of hold your hand, but it can only do so much at the end of the day. And so I say that is one of Yu-Gi-Oh's greatest strengths, in the sense that it offers an experience that no other card game does, but it's also its greatest weakness because it's very... it keeps a lot of people from wanting to even try it in the first place. So at this point, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really just a matter of, like, if you're looking for this type of experience, just like someone trying to approach a fighting game, then, like, here you go. Like, we offer this, but be warned, like, you're going to get your ass kicked a lot before you get good.
Yeah, that is the reality of it. And I mean, honestly, I'm not even mad at the fact that there's a learning curve to the game or whatever, but I think that the modern learning curve got out of hand at some point. They lost the plot somewhere along the lines, and they just never recovered that shit. Like who do you want to play the game? That's kind of my thing.
I wanted to do another video titled Where Yu-Gi-Oh! Went Wrong. And I wanted to, like,
you are so good at these fucking clickbaity titles. I love, like, I'm learning, like, as a content creator who just got the 10,000 subscribers.
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. I am listening to you talk, and just the way you come up with this shit is they're so concise and just exactly what would get someone to click a video.
Yeah. And so the thesis of this video was, because both of these would be more like video essay style.
Yep.
And the thesis of this was that, especially because I, like, played through all of, like, historical Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we did history of Yu-Gi-Oh! I wanted to retrace at what point I felt like the game took a turn in a direction that I felt like was overall, like, negative for the game.
Yeah, and, like a point of no return.
Right, and I haven't figured that out yet myself. Like, I need to, like, kind of, like, do my homework for this.
I have opinions.
But...
And you should poll.
Go for it.
You should poll some of the best players in the game's history. You should get in contact with Jesse
I think I
Cotton.
want to get people, like, interviewed for this.
Yeah, and you should clip us all up. I think, for me, when I quit was 2017. It was when Lynx came out. When Lynx came out, they started off very subtle at first. It was just like that one Earth dog, Milus Radiant. It was like Milus Radiant.
Mrs. Radiant.
Mrs. Radiant.
You're thinking of the OG. You're thinking of the OG Metal Raiders one.
Yep. So they upgraded that card. They retrained it, made it, a Link monster, and I thought that was fine. And then the deck at the time was like the Draco thing with the diagram and all that. It was like masterpiece deck with that. Yep. Then it went to Spiral format in 2017, and people were creating, I believe, a U-Link with spirals, and your opponent literally could not do anything. Like, you would end up with so many monsters. I would tell my friends, Yu-Gi-Oh! Now allows you to have like 6 monsters on the field, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you can now have 6 monsters on the field. And they're
you
like,
have 7 with a U-Link, actually.
Then they were U-Linking, and they were putting 7 on. And so I was like, you can technically have 7 monsters, and your opponent literally can't play the game anymore. And this is I was like, this is a common turn 1 thing that people are doing. And that's just how YCSs are being ended right now. Like, they're just ending on someone going, you Link, and you didn't draw the right hand traps, I guess, so you fucking lose. Or you lost a die roll, you fucking lose. Or whatever. Yeah. And seeing that become the state of the game, then 2018 is Goki format. Same thing, but more consistent. And then there's a Pendulum FTK, because that one Pendulum monster that's banned now, that ridiculous Pendulum monster, is like a Metal Foe, I think. It's like,
shoutouts, by the way, someone just heavied against 4 back row, and the 4 back row players scooped. I just want to say,
it just walked. It just straight up walked.
Yeah, it just walked. Yeah, they're like, okay, you got it, kid.
I love that, because I always tell people, if I draw heavy, I'm activating it. Just know that if you play against me, I'm giving you a spoiler alert. If you set too many back rows against me and I draw heavy, I'm not even thinking about the Starlight Road. I do not give a fuck. I never cared, not once. I'm activating Heavy Storm. I didn't put it in my deck to not play it. But
biggest balls I've ever seen. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, I think that for me, if I ever have to give my opinion on this type of thing, and I'm down to do an interview, but like when the game got to you linking people and giving them Ibly, I think the name of the card is Ibly.
When you give it to your opponent.
You give it to your opponent, you link them.
Can't evenly you.
They can't, there's so many things they can't do at this point. They can't use the extra monster zone because they don't have one. They can't special summon because they have Ibly. It was just
crazy. Evenly to break the board because you have Ibly on your field.
It was so toxic. And then the Goki thing with the Gumblar became the next thing. And then it was an FTK with Electromite is the name of the card. Electromite,
yeah.
People were getting FTK'd again. And then it went to Thunder Dragons and you can't search, but I can. So you can't, all the decks at the time were searching, but this Thunder Dragon says you can't search. It just got so floodgatey. Then Mystic Mind becomes a thing. Then Artifact Scythe becomes a thing. I just feel like it completely stopped representing like Yu-Gi-Oh! It just became floodgates or combos that were game on turn one every single game.
Yeah. So I would argue, and this is again with me not doing a super deep dive on this. I've been floating this video around for a while in my head. So I've thought about it, but I haven't like gone like as deep as I want to. Don't clip that. So my initial thought is somewhere around 2011, 2012.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, it's going to sound weird, and you played during this time, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. The reason I say that is because my initial thinking is when we first started getting monsters that either floodgate the opponent or represent an Omni-Negate that's once per turn.
Yep.
And the thing is with that, Heraclinos is a good example of this because Heraclinos is it's not a full Omni, but it's pretty close. Yeah. Right.
2007.
The thing with Heraclinos, 2007, he's a menace. Like, and we don't in Edison, he's insane, right? It's like when you summon Heraclinos, the game is basically a wrap. Like that's like the only time you really summon him.
Yep.
But the thing with Heraclinos is that not only does it require a huge investment to create him in the first place, but he still has an associated cost for his negation. You have to discard a card, right? And as Yu-Gi-Oh! Started to introduce monsters with Omni-Negate style effects, the problem is that these monsters didn't have costs to associate with that. So like Shockmaster's a great example. Yes, you have to detach for Shockmaster's effect. Yeah, that's not really a cost because you've already last long enough. The investment is already been made that you're not using an extra resource to get that effect each turn, right? It's already built into the card itself. And so I feel like the Omni-Negates are one of the biggest turning points because as we see, the Omni-Negates initially, and I'm going to go back to Heraclinos as an example here, may have been relegated to like one deck. Like only GBs can play Heraclinos, right? Yeah. And Heraclinos is a reason, not a great reason, but it's a reason that if you want to play Gladiator Beast, you get access to this really insane, like this card locks up the game if you summon it type of effect in a simplified game state, right?
Yep.
And so as the game evolved, these types of Heraclinoses, let's call them, became more and more generic and then applied to like literally everything. Like it became a true Omni-Negate. And on top of it, then you didn't have to discard a card for cost.
Yeah.
Right?
Baron de Four, like prime example.
Prime example, right? So then we start getting these Omnis that any deck can play aside from just needing to fulfill the certain summoning mechanic, like synchro summoning for Baron or whatever, right? And so that to me is the biggest issue because in older Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Edison's a great example of this, monsters, for the most part, did not have the built-in negations, right? The negations were in the form of spell and trap interaction. Primarily trap interaction, but sometimes with spells, with like Book of Moon, different things like that. Shrink, you have ways to interact, but it's not like a negate, right? The traps were the true negate effects. Divine Wrath and, pulling the rug sort of is like a negate in a way.
Like Seven Tools and a Bandit, Solemn Judgment.
They were built into... Judgment's the best one.
Built in the trap cards. Right? We love it.
Right. And so the problem was, and this also pairs with your U-Link example, but I think this is why it started sooner, is because not only did the opponent have 7 monsters on the field, but like 3 of those monsters would blank a card that your opponent has.
Was it Wizard, Tri-Gate Wizard or something?
Exactly, Tri-Gate Wizard. Yep. And so Firewall Dragon would bounce stuff, which if it's in the extra deck goes back to the extra deck. So that blanks a card there, and you had to invest 2 cards into it. So not only does the player going first have the ability to generate card advantage, but then they are able to create cards that blank and deny the opponents their cards, so that you're up in card advantage and your cards deny them card advantage at the same time. So it's like, I have a 5-card hand drawing to 6, and this is not counting hand traps, like, let's just keep it simple. But now all of a sudden, 3 Omni Negates are on the field. So it's really like I have 3 cards in my hand instead of 6 in all reality, right? And
literally,
I feel like that is sort of like the biggest turning point, because I think that's why a lot of people like Edison, is that it's interactive, but it's not, I'm going to say this with royal oppression being in the format, it's not oppressively uninteractive, if that makes sense. Now, games 2 and 3, it does have its blowouts. Like, there are the DDDs, there are the consecrated lights, like there are like the more, I think games 2 and 3 in Edison, you start to see like some of the more like toxicity.
But
we've gotten there. Yeah, we've gotten there. But I think when you're have a player base that's hyper competitive and trying to win, they're going to try to use every resource possible to do so, whether it's toxic or not, right? It doesn't matter.
And floodgates aren't that good in Edison format, though. Like, we only have a few that are good, but Edison, you get so many turns that floodgates rarely kill you.
Precisely.
Like, they don't kill you immediately.
Precisely. Exactly. And the thing is, like, we see nowadays, they've limited, like, Rivalry of Warlords goes in match and stuff. That's because when those cards get flipped, they are only sideboarded because I do my wombo combo, I set Rivalry, you go to start your turn, I flip Rivalry, you can't fucking play the game. And if you don't have a spell and trap out to that Rivalry that can get through a negation typically, because the negation protects the floodgate, then all of a sudden we have a non-game, and like, why the fuck are we playing this? And so Edison, while it does have its toxic cards, like you said, I've seen people get DDV'd and win. I'm sure you have too.
I have a clip
I've seen people. Yeah, exactly. There are, and like, I've seen people get fossil dyned and still win, and like, you know, I've seen people get oppression and still win. It's like, so like, we do have these cards, but because the Edison games lend themselves to being longer than just like 2 individual turns, then that's the fact that as Yu-Gi-Oh has aged, the amount of turn length has reduced. That makes these floodgate and negation effects even more toxic as a result.
I want to say this too.
Sorry for my long-winded. Obviously, you can tell I've thought about this a lot.
You clearly have, and I still think you should do some content on it. I have this to say. So I said 2017. That's when I got out the game. That's when it got to the point where of like no return. If I trace it back further, there's another point I'll never forget. What I consider to be the worst year in Yu-Gi-Oh's history for the competitive player. 2012 was Dino Rabbit format. And that is the beginning of you going summon one thing, one card, and it turns into a big Omni Negate monster. And if that wasn't enough, but it was enough, but if that wasn't enough, on the following turn, you could just go summon Tour Guide, make Levier, bring back Rescue Rabbit, and make another Omni Negate monster. And they had 2 of them, one for monsters and one for everything else. Like, it was so, and then also that's the same year that you have hand loop windups. So turn 1, you were taking, it was like Gumblar before Gumblar. You're taking your opponent's whole hand before they get to play turn 1. They literally just lose their hand. Then you have Inzectors. Inzectors literally said, if you play the game, I punish you, and if you don't play the game, I OTK you. So like, you put cards on the field, the Inzectors just popped all your cards, and they gained advantage by doing it. And if you didn't put anything on the field, someone, I don't know if it was Hoban or someone else, they discovered that like, if you equip Giga Mantis and like Hornet, and you start popping your own cards, you can literally kill your opponent if they don't have anything on the field. So you summon all these guys. So it just got to a point where like 2012 was uninteractive Yu-Gi-Oh to the max. It was like no interaction. Like we're like interacting in a sense that I summon turn 1 Logia and set Solemn Judgment, and like sure, that's interaction, I guess, or Solemn Warning, and like sure, I guess that's interaction, but like is really not. I'm putting you on immediately. You need to out this Logia, and if you don't, you kind of just lose. And that, so to me, 2012 is like when I first started to get the inclination that I do not like the direction of the game. However, they did reverse it. Like, we went through formats where it wasn't as bad after 2012. So that's why I always go to 2017, because I feel like since 2017, it has never gone back to normal. Whereas with 2012, it was Lagia and Dalka. Then it became Dragon Rulers in 2013, but then they even banned the babies. Then Dragon Rulers became very tame. And then it went to like Hat format, which is again like Soul Charge, but it's also still very tame. The card has its balance at that time. And then you get like,
it's still insane to me that we went from Dragon Rulers to fucking hat format.
Yes.
Like, talk about, like, night and day, right?
And here's where it gets even crazier. We got even better than that. Shadal's and BA and Constellar Knight, like Satellar Knight.
God.
Those
Frazier,
format,
you have my heart. Stop.
it's just like we played regular Yu-Gi-Oh again. We went back to slow, grindy Yu-Gi-Oh. Like we didn't,
Right.
we returned back to a game where you set traps. Like Satellar Knight's turn 1, summon Deneb, set a couple back row, pass. You're like special summon Farfa, special summon Skarm, overland to Dante, like normal summon Tour Guide, make another Dante, detach Milt. Like you were dueling and the games went back and forth and you're making your fucking Xyz monsters, you're doing everything, and it wasn't just set up Omni Negate, win on turn 1. You had to be cautious of you going in your extra deck because of Shadal Fusion. You couldn't just go in your extra deck. You had to think about it. Am I playing against Shadal's? Does he have Shadal Fusion? Do I care? Like, it was just a lot more interaction. And then 2017, I feel like happened. The Spiral U-Link shit started happening. And I was watching like, I don't know what's like, what is this? Like, what is this Solitaire?
Right. I like to say that the reason I'm leaning towards going with my original thought of like the Omni Negate as being because it sets the precedent.
It does.
Right? I don't disagree with you that Link monsters were also a tipping point for a lot of people. But the thing is, yes, we did have really good formats like hat format, and we had the triangle format of like Shadal BA, Teller Knight, and then Klee even. Like Klee, oh boy, Klee is like a whole nother bag of worms. But the thing is, like, Shadal BA Klee was a triangle, and Teller was kind of like on the side, like, you know, hoping to be like part of the.
It was the hero beat.
He's in the corner of the party, like, you know, like, oh, can I join in type of thing. But the thing is that I think they just set the precedent because they eventually just became so ubiquitous and so problematic, and then, like I said, again, like Shockmaster ended up getting banned. Like, these cards ended up getting banned because of like how oppressive they were. Or like restricted or whatever. And eventually card design sort of helped that. But then, like you were saying, then it just like starts getting into, I was going to say starts spiraling, but I really did not want to make that pun.
You were good at the pun thing too, just like casually.
I've done content creation so long, it just happens. And so then we start getting into like Pendulum's pile slop that just like the whole purpose of it is to just get out as many like unfair things as you can, essentially, and just like win the game that way. Then Link summoning too, but without like the omnis and such, I feel like it actually becomes much more tame and possibly like much more approachable. And I think like they're trying to solve this issue with modern Yu-Gi-Oh by printing a lot of cards that have turn 0 interaction, so that way it's like you have ways to just stop the opponent from getting to like insane end board, because that was the issue with like 2017 and stuff. There weren't the tools to combat these boards. Like, there wasn't the tools. They had some, like Evenly Matched existed. There were things like that, but most of the time they were just completely blanked by the fact that these boards were just so overwhelmingly powerful that unless you had like multiple answers, you just got cooked. And we know this because when they printed the Megatins in 2019 or 2020, I forget, they specifically gave us Nibiru, Dark Ruler, and Dimension Shifter as like 3 TCG exclusives for going second exactly. It's like, here you go. We know going first is really good. We're going to print 3 cards that are specifically good for going second, and all have been very good throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Even more so with Shifter being a fucking problem as the game has continued to age. But yeah, I think it would be an interesting video to explore. I think you could make the argument for links, pendulums, what I'm saying. I think everyone probably has their own point. That they feel like that's when people might say Dragon Ruler format, right? When I think top level players say Dragon Ruler format is very skill intensive, very interactive, and I personally like it. I think you like it too.
I do like it. Yeah.
But a lot of people might feel that because it was like, if you weren't playing Dragon Rulers, you got cooked.
Right.
You know, the more casual mindset that like, that's not fun when one deck is like overwhelmingly dominant over everything else. And I think that's a fair argument. That is because we like Edison. Edison has 10 different decks that can do well and win tournaments and all that. So it's like, we have our top decks, but we still have a format where you can choose to not play the Dragon Ruler deck, whatever the Dragon Ruler deck to you is. Right. We have the big 3, and then there's like the 5 or 6, you know, in like tier 1.5 that will still top. And then people still top with jank all the time, right? Like that's the best part about this format.
Yeah, that shit does happen. Wing Rhinos has topped, like X Sabers, like all the things that you would think are kind of like there's no way, and then a way happens
against all odds, right? And you're just like, what the fuck is this, right? And
whereas in Dragon Ruler format there was nothing but Dragon Rulers and the other deck that opposed it, which was Spellbook, and then there was the anti-meta for Dragon Rulers, which was what are they called? The Evil Swarm? Evil Swarm.
Oh, Evil Swarm.
Yeah. That was like that was it. You could play one of those three, and if you tried to touch Mermails or Fire Fist or anything that came out prior to those decks, it just wasn't viable.
And similarly, though, like a lot of people talk about how Fire Water format was so good. Again, right? There wasn't like these Omni negates to like stop you from playing the game. You would like play Mermail. You would do a lot of like combo type stuff, but you would do a lot of like, you would kind of just build this big board. Like you might Moulin your opponent. That's like kind of unfun, but that wasn't like an Omni.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you'd build a board of like, you'd have like a couple guys and you would like pass the turn, like set Abyss Sphere. You know, that was like the only like real interaction that you had. And then you have Fire Fist, similarly, where all their interaction on the like opponent's turn was locked into like all the back row that Fire Fist would play because it was a much slower deck by comparison, but it was still very good, you know?
Yep.
And so that's like, again, why people like Fire Water format. And so it's like the formats, I feel like that people are like, this is a fun retro format to play, whether it is Edison, whether it's Tengu, whether it's like Fire Water, like whatever. The ones that have the larger communities tend to be the ones that have the most interaction. They're very approachable, and they don't have a lot of unfun elements to them. Interesting
how that works, right?
Yeah, crazy, right? We want to interact with our opponents and play a game. Weird concept, you know, can't relate.
It's just like, and I agree. When Omni Negate started becoming a thing, like Heraclinos is one of the first easy to summon, and at least within that archetype, like you can just Secretary your opponent, or you can Prismatized Tiger. Semi easy to summon Omni Negate.
But you're also not Heraclinos in turn one, right? That's another thing.
Right, you're not doing it before they
you know?
Play. That's never a thing, actually.
Right. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but you're right. But like Omni Negates become a thing. Stardust Dragon to some degree is like a doesn't cost anything to use this effect. You just activate it, and that's like the beginning of it. But it's really fun because it's such a new concept to have these extra deck monsters. Yeah. But then it speeds up, and Xyz monsters is where like. Honestly, 2012, I just think about 2012, like Xyz monsters, 2011, 2012, because technically Lagi and Dolka, I think, came out at the end of 2011 in Tengu format. They came out like the end of it. Sure. And then like, so 2012 though was like Dino Rabbit format. And I feel like that opened the door to making guys that are easy to summon turn one before anyone is taking an action.
Turn one specifically.
Turn one specifically, no one's taking an action. Here's an Omni Negate, here's some back row that are protected, by the way.
Taking notes as we're talking about this. This is great.
2012 is like, here's an Omni Negate, here's some back row. You haven't even taken a turn yet. And we, like I said, the game goes through valleys and hills of interactive formats that aren't like this, and then back to that same nonsense. Then you go back up again to interactive, then you go back down to no interaction. But I feel like once we got to 2017, I don't think the game has returned to normalcy since 2017 Spiral format. I think that every single format after that has been toxic to a crazy degree, and I've already named like Cyflock. There's like turn one Gumblar Dragon. There's FTK's Ultramite.
It's funny because Scythe was released in Primal Origin before Duelist Alliance format, and Scythe was not as oppressive because the game length was still long enough that it's like, oh, I got Scythe. This sucks. I know like Corey McDuffie was like more the one who popularized like Scythe control and stuff. But it's like, oh, Scythe sucks, but I have multiple turns to still play the game. So it's like, oh, I can't summon from the extra deck this turn. Okay, I'm playing BA, so I'm just going to set 3 back row anyway, right? So it's like, yeah, it was annoying, but now the fact that most games in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Have sped up to the point where it's like the first turn is so important, and you're Scythe locking your opponent on turn 1, and if they don't have a way to interact with you, you win the game next turn, where
literally.
Like when it was initially printed, that wasn't necessarily the
Summon
case.
access code talker, you're dead.
Right, exactly. So it's this this floodgate type effect too that's problematic as well. It's not just the Omnis, but the floodgates is
Floodgate Yu-Gi-Oh became really big. People started figuring out that Mystic Mind was a god card and should never been printed.
But more secondarily though, because we have like our Royal Oppression in Edison, we have Fossil Dino, like we have floodgates in these formats, but like they're fine. Like, and they actually serve a purpose of like, I'm gonna like, Royal Oppression's not good against every deck. Fossil Dyna is weak for 1. 2, the games go on long enough, and 3, it serves a purpose of like, you know, you can stop Gores from dropping. Right?
And like I couldn't imagine this format if these cards didn't exist, because I swear one of the only things checking some of the crazy special summon decks, like Frogs, like the quick draw decks of the world, like the plant decks of the world, is these cards. And if you don't have them, these decks are just tier 0 basically.
Sure. And to be fair, like it took modern deck building philosophy to sort of get to like Frog OTK and like, you know, Gigavize as well. But I mean, it neither here nor there. There are tools in these formats to help deal with those decks. And sometimes you can't out an oppression and you're just like, oh, well, I'm fucked, right?
But you're aware
But,
that oppression is a thing that can happen, and you can even play around it in certain ways. Like, I'm going to hold my Regeki break. I'm going to hold my Dust Tornado in case this happens. Like, if they have...
you have the time to do so.
You have the time to do so. Blackwing sought Fisher for Consecrated Light. Like, everyone is aware at this point, especially... These are the floodgates that I have to be worried about when I'm playing my deck. Every deck kind of has some kind of floodgate to it. You know, even Vayu technically has Imperial Iron Wall that people could play against you and stuff like that. Yeah. You just have to be, but you have your built-in Raikou, right? You have your Alks built into it. I have Unifrog built into Frogs. I have Icarus Attack built into Blackwings.
I think Edison having Raikou being one of the staple cards of the format is so good for degenerate strategies like Stun to not exist.
Yep.
Because having this like ubiquitous generic card that not most, but several of the best decks are playing, it's like, okay, cute Floodgate, Raikou pop, right?
Yep.
Like that's amazing. I think that's so healthy.
It is. The fact that Raikou, you can set it and it doesn't feel bad too. Like you can genuinely set Raikou going first and second a lot of times, and it's just fine to do that. Like it's not the end of the game because you set Raikou. The fact that that is a quintessential part of Edison format tells you that the format is interactive in itself, right? Like you can do that and not literally say, oh, I lost because I had to set Raikou.
Right. Now, to your point, though, you talked about how post-Lynx that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was never the same. I would make one argument for that from my experience. And that's
you have more experience on it than I do, so please speak about that.
I would say Tearlaments is definitely an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
I haven't played like all of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! So maybe like some other decks would fall into this category.
Yeah.
But Tearlaments specifically was the deck that got me back into playing modern after I had like soft quit playing modern.
Yep.
Because I soft quit playing modern like when COVID happened, just because it was COVID, right? There wasn't really like an incentive to play.
Yeah.
Also, I had shifted my whole content away from like being sort of competitive to more just like doing prog and like all the other things. So being like as much of a grinder with modern wasn't as important for me. And so, but when Tear came out, Tear is so funny because I'm gonna take Abyss Dweller out of this argument because that's part of the problem.
I was like, ooh, that card is so toxic, but
right. But Abyss Dweller out of the equation, Tear was so popular because it was a modern deck that did not, aside from Abyss Dweller, I'm not saying that wasn't a problem. Aside from Abyss Dweller, both players got to play the game and play the game a lot.
Yeah.
It was very skill testing, even for like a casino deck, but it was the casino that always paid out. That's what I always like to say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that too.
Right. And so when it comes to that deck specifically, I think that has influenced a lot of like the modern card design because specifically there's a card called Havness. Havness says when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can special summon her and then mill 3. So she allowed you to start playing on your opponent's turn.
Havness?
That's Havness.
Yeah.
Not as a hand trap, right? It was not like, oh, I'm going to stop my opponent from doing something. Havness is the opposite where it's like, I'm going to let you play on turn 0 on your opponent's turn.
Yep.
And now a lot of new modern archetypes that are coming out because I still follow stuff even though I'm not like super into
I've heard
it.
they do the turn 0 thing.
Yeah, so a lot of decks now are getting a quote-unquote Havness monster so that they are allowed to start playing the game on the very first turn of the game. And I think we're starting to see a shift away from a lot of the problems with this is gonna be like part 3 or 4 of the Omni Negate thesis of like they've been on recent ban lists, like the recent ban list just banned Herald of the Arclight. That's been an Omni Negate that's been in the game forever. It's gone. You know, they banned Baron. Like they are slowly starting to ban all of the cards that I'm talking about were a problem in the first place.
Yep.
And I think it's just a natural progression of the way the game evolved. And so it seems like they're trying to fix it because these are obviously the biggest pain points that the player base is having.
And from the outside looking in, I don't want to interact with the game at all as long as it's currently that way, where Omni Negates are being set up or one card starter that turns into outrageous advantage like that Rhizio Ice thing or whatever. Stengo was trying to teach it to me. He was like, if you open up Rhizio Ice, you end on so much shit off of just opening that one card. And I was like, Snake Eye Ash. Chris LeBlanc came on the channel.
Snake Eye Ash.
He was showing me a combo that it took so long for me to do the combo because I was the one piloting. I didn't know what I was doing, so he was just showing me his YCS, his like 6 YCS winning deck. And our opponent quit because we were 10 minutes into our turn and we weren't even done. He was like, now you're going to put this in the back row and then you're going to pop this. And I'm like, bro, this is too much. Like, we're still going? And he's like, yep, we're still going. And our opponent just eventually was like, bro, this is taking way too long. He just left. And I felt bad because I was like, I don't know what's going on. The guy who I'm playing probably does, but he knows that like basically loses anyway. Even if I did it like super fast, I was the Jesse Cotton of fucking dueling book, it wouldn't matter because my opponent's still going to lose because I went first and I went Snake Eye Ash turn 1 and just like did a full combo. He had no response to it, so it's like all this is going through. The game's over.
Yeah, right. And so with Tier, I think what a lot of people liked about Tier, a lot of people didn't like Tier because that was the best deck by a mile.
Yeah, it was
and
a Tier 0
crushed
format
everything
too.
else. Right, Tier 0. But the thing is that
I'm tired of you. Okay,
I'm
enough
sorry.
of you.
But the thing is, I think the people who did like that format, the reason they really liked it is because, again, Dweller out of the argument, there wasn't things precluding, the opponent from like playing the game, right? You would make a board and the board would be very interactive, but it wasn't like you don't get to play. It's like I get to shuffle some of your stuff back.
Right.
I get to pop your cards. I get to shuffle your stuff in the graveyard away. There's a lot of layers of interaction, but none of it just outright says you cannot play your cards. Again, taking Dweller out of the equation.
Yep.
And so on top of that, being able to play on the opponent's turn 0, it's not like it's just like a hand trap where you fire it, it negates something, and your opponent goes back to comboing all over you, right? Havness specifically, but also the millers that would mill 5 for both players, allowed people to then start playing in the tier mirror match specifically, would allow both players to then start accessing their engines and start playing the game. So even though sometimes a tier turn would take like 20 minutes, you and your opponent have had so much interaction and things happening on that one turn that you felt like you played a whole game in that turn, that you feel satisfied that, okay, even though I didn't go first, I still had a fighting chance to stop my opponent from doing something because this Havness or this Agido or this Kelbeck milled me really well that I was able to do something that was like very proactive to like attempt to like interact with my opponent.
Yeah, the bestials play on each person's turn.
That too.
There's a
Bestials
lot
too.
of interaction. Yu-Gi-Oh has shifted too in this way, and this is another topic about like how Yu-Gi-Oh has changed. And I don't know if it's for the better or for worse. So instead of having more turns, there's more interaction on a single turn now. And that makes games cool. People are like, how could games take as long as they did back in the day when we had 10 turns each? Like in Edison, we both get like around 10 turns, let's say. Just arbitrary number, just like 10 turns, let's say. In Modern, you guys are taking like 2 turns each, but the games are still going to 40 minutes or whatever because there's so many things happening in one turn. And if that's good card design or a good gameplay, I'm not really sure because I don't partake in that gameplay of having 20 interactions in a single turn as opposed to 10 turns each, and we interact throughout those 10 turns, or do we do it all right now? Chain Link 9, Tier Elements, let's go to Chain Link 9 together. Let's see if we can structure these chain links right.
It's so fun.
It's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And I think if they could replicate the tier element experience, but with multiple decks instead of it being a one deck format,
right.
I think that would be a boon to making Yu-Gi-Oh look like a good game. Because the biggest argument I always have to make to people when they're like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh is a one-turn game or whatever, that's not inherently wrong. But the thing is, what most people don't realize is that unlike other card games, you know, you play Magic, you have 5 mana, you can only play a 2-drop and a 3-drop, right?
Yep.
But in our game, every card is live. So even though a game might only take 1, 2, 3 turns, the amount of interactions that are happening, ideally, within those 1 to 2 to 3 turns are the equivalent of playing like 4 to 5 turns of a different card game that has a mana resource system.
Yeah, that's true.
And when I frame it that way, people kind of have a new perspective of like, oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just like, oh, the person goes first, you know, wombo combos and the game's over. And I'm like, there was a time where that was true. You mentioned with like Firewall format and Goki and Spiral and stuff.
Yep.
But I think now they are trying to, I think they really learned from like the tier thing that like a turn 0 hand trap is, or a turn 0 engine piece, let's say, is very like net positive for like what modern Yu-Gi-Oh is trying to be. And I could be wrong. Like, that's just my opinion on the matter.
Yeah, it's also a preference thing too. Like, there are people who do prefer that style of gameplay over the slower style of gameplay. And, you know, they both take just as long. Like, I go over to modern events and spectate and just stare at back when I was at Ultimate Time Wizard and stuff like that. I would stare at their turns and like, damn, the clock has only 10 minutes left and they're telling me they're in game 2. Like, it's very possible that you could do so much in one turn, and some people do actually prefer like, oh, we just do the most on our turns, and it's not necessarily like a bad thing. You're just doing all the actions that you would have done that take 10 turns each. You're just condensing it down, but you're still getting to a result where you get to show skill, your ability to play through like interactions, like, oh, I knew to play around the ash here, so I did this specific thing that plays around it. Or nib is a really big one. People figure out clever ways to like, oh, I play around nib, but this is my 4th summon, which has a negate attached to it or something that mitigates it. And it's like, that is really cool that the player base has figured out ways to like make these elaborate interactive things happen all in the span of literally, you guys might take 2 turns each.
Right. Yeah. And like I going back to it, I don't think players mind a 10-minute turn if both players get the opportunity to do a lot of actions.
That speaks to your point.
I think the issue, right. I think the biggest issue is when there's a 10-minute turn and it's one person inevitably just getting to a point where they're going to win the game regardless of what the opponent has, but they have to take the 10 minutes to get there, and the opponent might be like, okay, I'm gonna make you do this to make sure you do it correctly, because if you fuck up, then like I win, right? And that's really frustrating, right? Because like I know that there are players like that are like, if they play against a less skilled opponent, they're like, do it. I want to see you kill me. Like, you could be like, I know as a pro player, and I know you're probably like this. You will see your opponent have lethal, but they may not have like put it together yet. There's they're like a hop, skip, and a jump away.
All the time, Simo.
Yeah, it's like, I want you to lethal me. Like, I know you have lethal, but if you do it incorrectly, that's on you, and I'm going to punish the fuck out of you for
so many extra turns in tournaments. So many turns that I don't deserve. Like, that is a very common thing where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I know I'm dead, but he has to know I'm dead, and he either might not know it or he might not know how to do it, and therefore I bought myself an extra turn, or like I was given an extra turn, and then I win the game. And I think that, like, a completely different topic, but a lot of games you're not supposed to win in general. Like, if the games were played by 2 bots who played perfectly, a lot of the games that you end up winning, a lot of rounds that you end up winning, you just would not have won based on the cards that were drawn and like, playing at a very optimal level. But we're humans, we're not bots. So people make mistakes, and that's what separates people, right? That's what makes the sizzles of the world, the Marcus Haydens of the world, the true heroes, all those people who are like really, really good. That's what separates people. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, it's very interesting how many times you get extra turns because I'll sit there and watch you play and I know I'm dead, but if you don't do it right, then I'm not dead. So
yeah. Exactly.
This is a very good topic. Somebody said, clip it.
I love this. Thank you for asking me on.
Yeah, I didn't know. Listen, I thought that we were going to have like a quick little 10 to 15 minute discussion about your tweets, and then it turned into like an entire
2-hour podcast.
2-hour podcast that's going to be turned into a video separate of this live stream, so that people can enjoy the our ranting about the state of the game and where it's come from and where it's gone. And honestly, I still want to hear your video essay versions of this topic, because I think the question that you asked, is it a little too late, I think is very valid to ask the question, at least.
Because when they first announced the full arts, everyone was like fucking like coming over the full arts, right?
I was one of them.
Oh, full arts. Oh, this is like Yu-Gi-Oh's fixed. Like, we're back, baby. All this.
We are so back.
Because I've been around too long, I'm just always like skeptical. The first thought in my mind was, why are they doing this now when they've had the capacity to do this for the past 10 years?
Because full arts aren't new.
Every other card game does them except for ours, right? So I immediately started like asking myself these questions of like, why are they doing this now? And like, what are like the repercussions of this? Like, yada, yada, etc. And so don't get me wrong. I think they look sick. I think they look cool. Like, I'm not going to dispute that. Yeah. I think it's cool that they're also unique cards and not just a reskin of Blue Eyes White Dragon that you can play, right? That's cool as well.
Yep.
But the more cynical part of me is like, why are we doing this, and how did we get here? And I decided to make for a more like in-depth discussion instead of everyone immediately jumping the gun and like saying how everything's just back and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because we've been here before, and so I think we've just been around the bush too many times or been around the block too many times that it's hard to get it. And I don't want to be this way. It's like, I want to be excited for stuff, but I think the problem is that the trust is gone or eroded,
like it is from OTS stores or OTS.
Exactly, for the OTS stores. Like, I feel like I'm in their camp, that I feel like it's hard to get excited when I know they'll do one good thing and follow it up with like 10 bad things.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to believe they are doing things to make it better, and it seems like that's what they're trying to do, but we won't know until it happens, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of like Ultimate Time Wizard. You remember how the backlash happened when they tried to change the rules to advanced rules and all that, and erratas?
Oh, the advanced Edison thing?
You remember how much controversy that caused even the people who don't do content on Retro to do content on Retro for like... So that was a big thing in the community. They reversed it. They then announced an Ultimate Time Wizard, but then they decided to rug pull and say, okay,
it was for Nats, right?
Yep, it was for Nats. And then they were like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we're done with the whole Ultimate Time Wizard. You guys bitched and complained that we wanted to change your game, and now we're going to completely take it away from you. And so that was kind of interesting.
I think that is the first time the community has gotten a W in that, because typically Konami does something and will complain, and they're just like, take it, like, too bad, like, deal with it. But this, I feel like this was like one of the first, if not actually the first win, like where the community bitched and complained like a lot. And they're like, oh, like we got to do something about this. And they did. So you know what? Kudos to them.
Yeah. Kudos.
It wasn't like the best solution, but because I think they still, didn't they still do the advanced Edison thing?
I actually don't know if an event was ever run with those rules. That's something that I have never confirmed. I don't think anyone has actually played outside of, I've done it. It's funny. 2 years ago, I decided to do
an experiment, right?
I did an experimental tournament where I gave out like hundreds of dollars in prizes, and it was like, we're going to play with erratas, and we're going to play with like, you don't draw going first, stuff like that. And it was fine. I think Black Wings ended up winning anyway, so I was like, okay, well,
that's not shocking.
Yeah, I was like, all right. But to the point is like, I don't know if Konami ever actually held any kind of tournament where Advanced Edison was the rules.
It's ironic though, right? Because they canned Ultimate Time Wizard like right after that anyway.
Yeah.
So like, what was the point? Like, if like, I don't understand what the argument was to like change Edison for Ultimate Time Wizard if they were going to can the program anyway. It just seemed like a waste of time. But I don't know, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm definitely going to turn this into a separate thing. No, it was fine. Like I really, really enjoyed this discussion. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot to fix. Konami has a lot to fix, because right now, I think your point of their back is against the wall, and they're doing things, drastic things that we've never seen them do. I've never seen, like you said, Backlash has been a thing that they've dealt with forever. They never really did anything about Backlash, though. The fact that they actually, like, corrected something for once after Backlash was very shocking. And for Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! of all things to do,
it wasn't even modern. Yeah, it was retro. Right. Exactly.
That to me is crazy, because I've been a modern, at one point I was a modern player technically, and we complained about all types of shit, and we never got anything. And for the fact that Retro complained and it got overturned, and yeah, granted, in the end they did just say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. But still, in that moment,
example was back in the day. You probably remember this. We wanted them to give us explanations for why they hit cards on the ban list, because that's what every other game gets. They did that one time. Everyone said these are the dumbest explanations we've ever seen, and they never did it again. So, like, there's a perfect example, right? So,
oh man, not people said that to them and just like offended them, and they were like, all right, fuck you guys. I mean, I get it though. Some things are just like, we also bite the hand that feeds very often, and
we do.
It's a thankless job being a TO. I say this all the time. Being a TO is a thankless job. People will shit on you no matter what. But it's just funny to me that, like, I don't know, we complained about the way they gave us explanations, like, these explanations are fucking terrible, and they were like, all right, now you don't get those anymore. It's like, god damn it.
I think also something that I hope people understand, even though the majority like to think I'm just Yu-Gi-Oh's biggest hater because someone has to be, is that I complain because I care. If I didn't give a fuck about this, the worst thing you can do is, from a company perspective, you would rather have people rioting in the streets over a decision you make over not saying shit at all. Yeah. Because if they're not saying shit at all, then that means you're irrelevant, right? Yeah. And so the thing that frustrates me the most is that, like, I am passionate about this game, and I think you can agree with what I'm about to say. When Yu-Gi-Oh! Is peak, nothing beats it. Nothing beats this game when this game is at its best. And I think that's why so many of us like Edison. I think that's why, like, we're always chasing that high of, like, when Yu-Gi-Oh! Is great. The amount of games I've left playing in Edison format, out of all the Ultimate Time Wizards, out of the RBT, everything, the amount of games I've left just thinking to myself, that was just some fucking good Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? Are countless. And I feel like a lot of people in your chat might express that same sentiment. And so it's like, if I didn't give a shit, I wouldn't be trying to yell out into the void for things to change, because I want them to be at their best, so that so that see, now you're doing it.
I know, I can't help it now.
I want these changes and I want these things because it's like, I want not just myself, but other people to enjoy the game that I enjoy. And it just sucks that when decisions are made that are like against that belief, that it's like, all the more reason I just like take a further and further step away. And I think a lot of people have over the years. I think, again, like with the sales numbers and stuff, they're seeing that. People are like, why am I going to invest not just my money, but my time, my effort, everything, just anything? Why would I invest into this when I could play other games that are going to treat me much better, whether it's monetarily, whether it's like from the community, whatever you get out of it, right? Why would I invest that in Yu-Gi-Oh when there's a million other ways I can invest that time and effort into something that's going to feel fulfilling? And so I want to feel that fulfillment with Yu-Gi-Oh again, but Konami just makes it harder and harder to do that. And so, again, for anyone who's still listening to this, it's like, I complain because I care. That's like the thing that I just like to underscore.
The other thing is that now I feel like more than ever, Konami has real competition. Like,
they do.
Like, they really have... Pokemon is popping off. People really like these Riftbound and One Piece and Lorcana. There's so many card games that people do have an option to play now. Here's the problem. Before, Konami, Pokemon, and Magic were the big three. And basically, new card games will come up, but then they would just die after like 3 years. Like, every card game that came up would literally just die after 3 years.
Yeah, they call it the 2-year curse. Yeah, it's very common.
Yep,
with
2 to 3
games.
years,
yeah.
The card games just completely nosedive. No one plays it. The cards lose all their value, and then it's done. And then everyone comes back to Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic. Now, One Piece and Lorcana, these are big IPs. They're not really going to go anywhere because, like, right now, Steve Silverman is texting me, telling me to buy tickets to a Rutgers game in Jersey because they're giving out a One Piece promo that is going to be worth $300 or something like that. And they're like, there's so much going on with these other IPs that are big. Like, One Piece is huge. Lorcana is Disney. They're fucking Disney. They're not going anywhere, right? Like, if they want to continue their card game, they could continue their card game. And so they have real competition for once. And the hubris that they used to be able to get away with of saying, we don't really care, we're going to do this like we want to do it, and we don't have to take feedback or suggestions in the account, that is not really possible now.
No.
You cannot do, you will bleed players and lose people over, even if it's not to the other card games, you will just lose people because they're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like,
I agree. And look at it in the greater context, right? Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out in America in 2002. And let's even be generous and go up to 2005, like when GOAT format was around, right? What was around at that point? Magic and Pokemon were around. Those were like the big three. You have the graveyard of card games that all sucked, that like aren't around anymore. And YouTube, for context, like had basically like just started existing. Let's keep in mind.
Yep.
Smartphones didn't exist yet, right? So mobile gaming did not exist. We're still dealing with the Game Boy Advanced, right? I don't even think we were at like the DS at this point. I'm just trying to paint people a picture of like when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was peak and like a top 10 IP of all time. The competition was a lot slimmer compared to what they have now, and what these companies have learned and built these massive IPs, whether it's League of Legends for Riftbound, whether it's Bandai picking up One Piece. I could go on, right? And it's not even just within the card game space. There's other things that are fighting for people's attention that are outside of the card game space that you would want to invest your time and effort into. That's like, why am I going to pick Yu-Gi-Oh! Out of all of those things? Like, what are you selling me as a game to get me to play your game?
Right.
And I think as these decisions that they made became worse and worse over time, again, they are trying to correct it, but historically speaking, as they continued to make these worse and worse decisions, I think a lot of people just became very jaded, and they're like, why am I dealing with this when I can just do anything else, essentially? That's going to be... I think as we're getting older, I think a lot of companies are realizing that valuing your players' time is the best way for player retention. As someone who plays fucking old school RuneScape for some reason, probably because I'm autistic, but as someone who plays that game has 250,000 people playing it actively, is the third biggest MMO in the world, and growing, and their biggest thesis that they just came out with is, we value the player's time. We value the effort and time you put into your account, and we are never going to devalue that.
Oh wow.
Where
never
a lot
going
of
to
other
devalue
games,
it. That's big because you know how Yu-Gi-Oh gets.
Exactly. And devalue in terms of like your gear progression and stuff. They're a lot of other MMOs, it's like the next big wave of content comes out, your current gear is like irrelevant, all this. This game has done a lot of effort to make sure that like at all points in progression of playing the game, your time and effort is like worth playing. And so I think that is something that a lot of companies can learn from, because the fact that this fucking point and click simulator is still around after all this time, why would you play this when you can play anything else? I feel like playing this game, I'm playing it right now as we're talking, which is hilarious, is that my time is valued and the investment that I'm putting into it is worth it for me to have a great experience either by myself or with my friends. And I think that card games, or any game for that matter, can learn from that in terms of, especially as now there are so many different things, everything's fighting for our attention. We want to put our attention into the things that matter and the things that we feel the most, that we're getting the most value out of, whether it's our time is being valued, our money is being valued, et cetera, right? And so I think Konami has sort of dropped the ball on that in a lot of ways. And I feel like a lot of people now feel like their time isn't being valued in the same way. And that's why you see this sort of mass exodus of people. A lot of top Yu-Gi-Oh players went to One Piece because they're like, why am I going to invest into Yu-Gi-Oh when I can invest into One Piece and get rewarded for it?
Yep.
Right? And so you can extrapolate that across a million other examples, but that's just like the easiest one. I know so many people that went to One Piece or Pokemon just because they're like, this is way better. They may not think it's as good as Yu-Gi-Oh, but in terms of investment, they feel like it's worth their time to invest into that because they get rewarded for it. It does. From a competitive player, it matters a lot.
Yeah, and as we get older, time is more valuable to me now in my 30s than it was when I was in my 20s. Like, I didn't give a fuck in my 20s. You know, I stay up till 4 a.m. practicing Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever.
Exactly.
And, like, I had the time to do that, you know, but now I don't have the time, nor do I want to spend the time investing in something that genuinely doesn't have any return to it. Like,
you still go to locals?
No.
I don't either. Exactly, because we value our time now. It is not about it. Our time is more valuable than going to sit at a locals for 4 hours playing Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Even as much as we love the game.
Yeah.
Right?
And I love it, obviously.
I haven't gone to the locals
right?
in years.
Yeah. We love the game. We're content creators for it.
An LDS or an RBET, we feel like is worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or back in the day, in our 20s, we'd have no issue going to locals every Saturday. As we get older, our time becomes more and more valuable, and our priorities shift. And so anything that is going to value your time and investment, I think, pays dividends in the long run.
No, it's very true. Everything you said. I mean, it just
time is our greatest resource. It's the most finite as well.
It is, man. And as I get older, I think about my mortality more often. Not to get all like dark, but I do think about.
You're telling me, Frazier? You're telling me we're talking about mortality?
Right.
Huh?
Probably ironic here.
Fucking come back from the grave twice. Talking about mortality.
You got the premature burial. It's just like
I got the premature burial and the call of the haunted. But
I'm glad that you're still with us, Simo. I hope that everything works out. Honestly. You are a treasure to the Yu-Gi-Oh community and to just the online YouTube community as well.
I appreciate that. That's nice.
And yeah, I'm rooting for you in everything, all your journeys with chemo and cancer. Fuck cancer, always going to say fuck cancer. I lost family members to cancer, and I don't want to lose more people to it. So I'm hoping to God that like everything works out. Again, not to get all morbid, but I do think about mortality a lot as I get closer and closer to being actually 40 years old. I know the joke is that I'm 40. But that was actually what it is. It is a joke. I am not 40, but I am approaching 40. And like, I'm just thinking about it. Like my parents are older now. God willing, I still have my mom and my dad. I still have a grandmother, still have a grandfather. But they're getting so much older, and I'm just noticing, how much time is limited as I get older. And so to bring it all back to Yu-Gi-Oh, I just don't have the time to spend on being shit on all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just hard to spend time being shit on all the time.
Right. When there's so much more to life, right? And I think that's why we're getting very existential with this talk. I don't think we expected to go that direction, but that's why I made the post that I just said I'm going to just take a step back from things. And I still post, obviously. It's not that I don't, but I really again, coming back from the fucking grave, being at death's door twice now, essentially.
Yeah.
As much as I love Yu-Gi-Oh, there are other things in my life that have higher priority, and so it's still my job, right? Like that's obvious. So it's still how I live. But in terms of dedicating, in terms of dedicating the amount of time I did when I was like really on the grind, trying to make a name for myself.
Yep.
It's different now. I mean, would I like to keep being on the grind? Sure, but at the same time, I don't value that as much. Like, I feel like I've accomplished a lot in my career, and I feel like I'm okay just, kind of taking it easy so I can heal and get better, because then if I do want to get back on the grind, then I'll be at 100% for you guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah, your health is more
time
important,
being,
honestly, too. Like,
exactly.